teachings of ISKCON founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. So we discussed some of this search for happiness in the first session. And last session we discussed, does God really exist? Okay. And how much of you remember what we discussed last?
Remember only the questions of those.
We discussed why do people believe in God in general. So there are four reasons why these people do. One is the fulfillment of desires, fear of unknown, social pressure, or traditions and blind belief. Because these are the four general categories why people usually believe in God. And we talked about people going to interview, performing some yajnas and sacrifices out of fear. Um, and then we talked about why people don't believe in God. Some of the reasons why people, because people think there is no proof of His existence, because they can't see Him. Can you show me God? Unless I see God, I can't believe that there is God. That's normal. People, a lot of people think like that. And sometimes people become atheists, or people think that there is no God because of so much suffering in the world. A lot of things are happening. They think there is no God. If there is God, all powerful God, then why can't He stop all these things happening? So that hence there is no God. So that's what people think. Okay. And then we talked about what is the proof of existence of God, and that's where we stopped last time. What is the definition of God? How to see God, and how to acquire knowledge about God. So hopefully we will try to finish the rest of the presentation today um, with Raj and Sandeep's cooperation.
Last time they stopped us seeing the God.
They came between us and God.
So, and what is the proof of existence? How do we prove that there is God? So there is a acronym that we talked about last time. It's a C-LORD, C-L-O-R-D. That's the acronym we gave. What is the proof of existence? So C means creator, L means lawmaker, R is order and design, and D is demands and urges. So every creation has a creator. We talked about it. And if we see the laws, that means there is a lawmaker. And everything in whatever we see, there is an order and design for everything that exists. And then all the bodily demands, all the demands that we have, urges we have, there is some fulfillment in the nature already. So everything is provided already. Like some of the urges could be, I am feeling thirsty. There is a facility for water. I am hungry. There is food already. So like that, for all our demands and urges, there is a facility given by this nature. So these are the, by this we can say that yes, there is something super natural or something higher power which is doing all these things. That's how we can prove. Okay? And we said, how telephone came, somebody created it, somebody invented it, so same thing. So we looked at all these things last time. All these things is to kind of prove that nothing comes automatically. There is something definitely is doing it. Otherwise, things will not come automatically. Similarly, all this creation implies creator, art implies artist. Yeah. So let's move forward a little bit on this. And we talked about this example of a rose. A lot of times when we see an art or some picture on the wall, immediately we ask, who did this, who created this picture. Then we accept it. If somebody drew this picture, then immediately we accept it for the creator, right? But the picture shows only one dimension, only the color of it, pretty much. But when you go to store and buy an artificial flower, you can get two things out of it: the color of it and also the shape of it. We still believe that somebody made that flower. When we go to the store, yes, somebody made it. But when we pick up the real flower, real rose, it has color, it has shape, and also it has a fragrance. But when it comes to that, we say, no, there is no creator. It came automatically. For first two things, we accept that there is a creator. But for the third thing, we don't. So that's what it is. So when we believe in first two things, why not believe in this also, that there is a creator for this, right? Yeah, and we just talked about all this. And Big Bang theory, Big Bang creator or a Big Bang, basically when something explodes, it's not going to create something beautiful. It's going to be a so chaotic situation. But our all this the planetary systems and everything is not a chaos. Everything is going on in a particular fashion and order. So we talked about this big bang or big brain behind all that. Okay, and then we talked about the lawmaker, like all the planes that are going in the sky, and the traffic, everything is there because of some lawmaker is there. Similarly, all the planets are floating like swaps of cotton. How is it doing? It's in a perfect fashion. It's because of the laws that God made laws. There are natural laws. There are the physical laws. There's a perfect brain behind all these natural physical laws. Who is saying this? This is Einstein actually. Okay. And order and design. So there is so many designs involved with all these small gadgets. There's so much design when it comes to all these beautiful creatures. So obviously there is somebody is designing all these things. Otherwise, how is that possible? So giraffe is like longest neck, artist, and we looked at all these things last week. And we talked about this bird, which weighs only 3 grams, but it flaps her wings 75 times a second and flies 1,000 miles every year. Who taught her that? It goes every year same thing. This bird does everything same time. Unless there is a particular design, why this bird is doing it? 6 million wing beats in entire life. So again, this particular animal is designed to live in certain places, so where it can live without water for a certain number of days, and it can sustain the heat and things like that. So, and the human body. So we talked about, have you seen any mission that is made by a scientist which can take grass and give milk? So far we have not seen anything. There's nobody that can create like that. And a mother, as soon as mother gives birth to a baby, then immediately you see milk coming out of her mother. So until then it was not there. So how all these things are happening? How the entire human mechanism is able to digest food? Even to digest a piece of bread, the scientists with so much nanotechnology, they have to build a machine which takes about 2 miles long, even to just digest something, to consume something. So, but within our body, all these things, all these miracles are happening within our body. So obviously there is some intelligent design. Otherwise, it is simply not possible to do all these things. Yeah. So we talked about the all these things, and then about the sun. Okay. So then the demands and urges. So for fulfillment of urges in nature, for thirst we have water. For hunger there is food. So if you want to worship, for all these things are there. If you want to pray, then there is a worship, facilities in the nature. Everything is there. So basically, the proof for existence of God is based on this. We can say that yes, there is some great brain behind it, and it is some superpower is there. So that is God. Okay. So now let's see what is the definition of God. I think we discussed a little bit of this also. That's where there was a lot of questions on this. So some say God is light, and some say God is nature, and some people say you are God and everybody is God. That's how different people give definitions of Lord. Like, I am God, you are God, everybody is God. Some people think like that. Some people say God is, just simply light or some energy. Some people say that, God is nature. Nature is God for me. Right? Some people say work is worship. For them, work is God. So different people give different definitions for God. Okay. So God is the supreme source. That means everything is coming from God. So we have source. For me, the source is my parents. That's where I am coming from. Right? My parents are coming from their parents. So like that, the ultimate, the supreme source is God, where everything is coming from. If there is some source for that God, that becomes a God. So there is no question of who is the source of God. If something is becoming source of this entity, then that thing becomes God. So God means basically is the supreme source of everything. Ultimate source of everything is God. Everything is coming from that particular entity, that is God. And God is a supreme controller. So we may be able to control few things here and there, but ultimate control is the supreme Lord. So I may be able to control my own body little bit, not to not full extent. I cannot control my body to the fullest extent, but I could control little bit, certain urges for certain time. I can do some control of my body. I know what is happening in my body, but I don't know what is happening in others' body. I cannot control other people. But the Supreme God is the supreme controller of everything. All living entities, everything that exists, supreme controller, that is God. And then a supreme proprietor. He is a proprietor for everything, because everything, since he is the source of everything, he is the creator of everything, everything is coming from him. That implies that he is the proprietor of everything also, because he is the one who created everything. So he becomes proprietor. We may be proprietors for temporarily, for time being, we are proprietor for this house, for this car, but all these things. But are we the proprietors forever, for eternally? For how long we are proprietors? So we are only taking care of the property, but otherwise the ultimate proprietor is God. And then the God is the supreme enjoyer. So that's where we got a lot of discussion last time, why God is supreme enjoyer. Right? So we talked about the Supreme Father, and then supreme controllers. At some point, different prime ministers or the presidents, they control the country or certain region for certain time, but that's only temporary. But the supreme controller is the God. Okay. And then about the body, certain things, how the body, certain things are controlled. And he's a proprietor, supreme proprietor. We may be proprietor temporarily for some time, but so one fine day government may come and say that from tomorrow this property is mine. So you just have to move out. Then we don't have a choice. We just have to get out of that place, right? So that's why we are only the temporary caretakers of all these things, whatever we possess. Okay, and the God is the supreme enjoyer. So here God is the independent enjoyer, we are the dependent enjoyers. That means we also have some kind of enjoyment in our life. We try to enjoy, we also experience some kind of a happiness and enjoyment. But our happiness and our enjoyment is completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. Because for every aspect of our life, we are depending on something which is provided by the Lord. Otherwise, we cannot enjoy it. We don't have any other enjoyment, right? But whereas the Lord is a completely independent enjoyer, meaning his enjoyment does not depend on anything else. He's completely, supremely independent. Just to give you a crude example, let's say there is a hotel owner, So hotel owner, the business owner can be considered as independent. But the employees under him, they are dependent on the owner of the hotel. So to get their paycheck, to sustain their lives, to continue whatever they want to do, they are dependent on the paycheck from the employer. So in that sense, employer is independent, the employees are dependent on the employer. So it's a crude example, but just to explain that concept of dependent and independent. Okay, and also anyway, we discussed, we came up to that point. Okay, so we discussed that. Wait a second. We discussed the definition of God last time. And then today we will try to discuss how to see God. Okay, so from our examples, from certain examples and some analogies, we understood that yes, there is some supreme power, there is some supreme energy, or there is some God, right? But then how do I see God? So how to see God? So that's what we are going to discuss, and how to acquire knowledge about God in this session. That's what we are going to do. Okay. So one of the main challenges to the existence of God is that the first question people ask is, how can I believe in God that I cannot see? That's the first question. So I can't see, so I don't see it, so I don't believe it. Whatever I can see, that's what I believe. So the first challenge people usually ask is, how can I believe in something which I don't see it? So that's the first challenge. And the another challenge is that and in the same line, so a lot of people say that, unless you show me God, I cannot believe you. It's the same thing, basically. You show me, then I will believe you. So for example, there are two principles to understand, how to see God. So the first one is cause and effect. Cause and effect means, do we see air? Can we see air? We can't see air, right? But we can feel it. just by the feeling of it, then we know that there is air, right? In the atmosphere, we can see that there is air. So there is something called cause and effect. Okay, and when you see an arrow in motion, just by seeing the arrow in motion, you know that there is a bowman who triggered that arrow, right? Just by seeing the effect of it, then you can understand that there is a cause behind it. Just by seeing the arrow which is in motion, we can understand that there is somebody who triggered it. Otherwise, you can't see the arrow moving. Or you see the car running on the street. So just by seeing the car moving on the street, you understand that there is somebody driving it, or there is some control, running the car. So just by seeing the effect of it, you can understand the cause of it, right? You can safely understand that there is a cause behind it. And also, the unseen is proven by the seen. For example, if you look at a garland, very nice flower garland, or you look at a pearl necklace. So, a very nicely made pearl necklace, can you see the thread behind it? You can't see the thread. But by seeing the necklace, we can understand that yes, there is a thread behind these pearls. That's why it is able to become a necklace. So the unseen can be proven by the seen. Whatever we can see from there, we can understand that there is something behind it. So basically, cause and effect also same thing. By looking at the effect, then we know the cause. If you see the smoke, then you understand that there is a fire. So you can see that there is a fire. You can understand that there is a fire. Similarly, from all these examples that we saw before, like looking at the nature, looking at different things, we can understand that we can perceive the existence of God. That's how we can at least perceive that there is some God exists, right? So that's what it is. Okay, and also another still people just no, unless God comes in front of me, I'm not going to believe it, right? So how can we demand for something which we are not qualified for? Meaning, like how much ever we shout at top of our lungs, I want I want President Biden in front of my house right now, in my house right now. How much ever I shout or do anything, is he going to appear in front of me? It's not going to happen. So for that, I have to gain some qualification. I have to gain the eligibility so that he can come and see me, or I can go and see him, right? So at least I should understand the procedure or a process by which I can see some great personalities. Even to meet President Biden, or even to see Prime Minister Modi, all these big shots, there is certain procedure that we need to follow so that then we can go and meet him. Or you do something great, then they themselves will come and see you. So these are the two ways one can see the God, or you can see some great personalities, right? So somebody is asking, unless you show me God, I cannot believe. That will not work, because you gain the qualification, you gain the eligibility so that they'll come and see you. Or you follow some process, you follow the knowledge by which you can go and see the Lord. Okay. So far, you guys are with me till now? So one is by cause and effect, another one is by service. Basically, by serving in a proper way, by following certain scriptural things, then we can see the Lord. So this is like theory of cause and effect. The fan is running. Just by seeing the fan, you understand that there is some electricity coming. You can't see the electricity, but the fan is running. That means there is electricity, right? And you see the puppet show. So when you see the puppet show, the puppets are acting. Why? Because there is somebody controlling the puppets in the background. You understand that there is somebody who's controlling the puppets. Yeah. So same thing with all this the satellites. So there is somebody controlling by serving. So if you want to bring a president in front of your house or see the president, you have to act in such a way that they will come and see you. Okay. Okay. So now, so how to acquire knowledge about God? Okay. So before seeing this, how to acquire knowledge about anything? How do we acquire knowledge about anything? Forget about God. How do we acquire any knowledge? In general, what are the ways one can acquire the knowledge?
Reading books.
Reading books. Okay, that is one way. So you can read the books and
Hearing
get
from
some.
someone.
Hearing from someone. Okay. What else?
From a teacher.
Experiencing.
From?
A teacher.
From a teacher. So basically, hearing from somebody. Yeah. So teacher. From a teacher, you can learn.
Experiencing.
experiencing, yourself experience something and then you can learn something. What else?
Research or associate with others.
Associate with somebody who already knows something, right? Already knows that subject. So by seeing you can learn something, right? By seeing also you can learn. By hearing you can learn. By experiencing or experimenting certain things you can learn. So there are different ways one can learn any subject. Similarly, to learn, to acquire knowledge about God, primarily there are three ways one can acquire knowledge, any knowledge. So one is called pratyaksha pramana. So that is called experimental knowledge or pratyaksha. Aksha means eyes, basically. Aksha means eyes. So the first one is pratyaksha pramana. So by your seeing and by your personal experience, so that you try to learn. And the second one is anumana pramana. Anumana pramana means theoretical, theory, deducing or, so since this is happening, this must be true. Or some guesswork, basically. That is anumana pramana, based on certain guesses, you see. So that's learning. And the third one is shabda pramana. Shabda pramana means, as the name shabda means sound. So hearing from authority. So these are the three primary ways to acquire knowledge. So then we will see which is the best way to acquire knowledge in any subject, any subject, So especially with respect to understanding God, what is the best way? Is it pratyaksha pramana is better, anumana pramana is better, or shabda pramana is better? How we can learn about God out of these three ways? Okay, we will see, what is the advantage and disadvantages with these ones. Then we will know what is the best way to understand God or know God. Okay, so this one pratyaksha means, aksha means eyes, prati means basically direct. So directly with eyes, pramana means evidence. So that means whatever I see, that's how I am going to learn. But is this the right way of understanding anything? Does this pramana, pratyaksha pramana, does this give full knowledge about any subject? Is it possible to learn everything just by seeing, direct perception? Is it possible? Why is it not possible?
Because we cannot see everything.
What is it?
We cannot see everything.
We cannot see everything. Number one, we cannot see everything. What else? Why
Not,
pratyaksha pramana is the best way of learning?
not only seeing, doing is different, right? Sometimes we, just by seeing we get that knowledge, but while doing we get more issues.
So
Issues
practical
and-
experience
yeah,
is different.
practical experience will be there. So
Yeah.
just by seeing we can't learn everything.
Okay. By seeing you can get only limited knowledge. That's
Yeah.
what we mean to say.
Because
Right.
different people do in different ways. While I'm doing, I will get my issues.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Right. Wonderful. What else?
So whatever you are seeing, that may not be the truth also sometimes.
Okay. Sometimes we say seeing is believing. So basically, pratyaksha pramana means information that can be perceived by our senses. That's what pratyaksha pramana means. Whatever we can perceive with our senses, we think that's what it is. But we cannot perceive everything properly with our senses, right? Raj, you wanted to say something? You would say.
Yeah, I was just going to give an example. Like if a gymnast does somersaults and cartwheel, we see it, but we do not know how they did that, and then we have to get that knowledge and training to go and do that. So I'm just trying to put a different the behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah. Pratyaksha pramana. A lot of people say that seeing is believing. In general, say seeing is believing. But is seeing believing? If you look at the straw in the water, is it really crossed like that? Is it bent like that?
No.
Can I say that looking at the jar, the glass jar and a straw, can I say that the straw is not straight? You cannot say that. So then how can you say that seeing is believing? Right? Okay? So I'll show you some other examples here. Anyway, the eyes, you put a magnifying lens in front of your eyes and you see something different. It's not the exact thing what it's supposed to be, right? So imperfect senses. So we cannot understand the absolute truth, which is basically God, it's through our blunt material senses, because of the 4 defects we have. So pratyaksha pramana is basically direct sense perception. So experiencing something with our senses. So, but our senses are not perfect. Okay. So there are 4 defects in our living entities. Human beings, we have 4 defects. So the first defect is imperfect senses. How can I say that our senses are imperfect? We'll come to that. And then we have a tendency to be illusioned. and tendency to commit mistakes. To err is human, that's what we say. So we have tendency to commit mistakes. And then we all have cheating propensity. Okay, so we have 4 defects. So imperfect senses, to be illusioned, commit mistakes, and cheating propensity. Because of these 4 defects in us, we cannot say that Pratyaksha Pramana, whatever we are trying to learn through direct sense perception, it's not possible because we already have some defects. With the defects, how can you see something? How can you see something? How can you perceive something which is perfectly? It's not possible. Okay. So we will show some examples here. So imperfect senses. We have all these different senses, like eyes, ears, the nose, tongue. So we have all these different senses. We have 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses. Knowledge acquiring senses means jnanendriyas, through which you get jnana, the knowledge. That's why it's called knowledge acquiring senses. Like eyes, you can gain some knowledge, right? So ears, you can get some knowledge. Similarly, you have 5 working senses. Working senses means karmendriyas, basically which does the activity, actual activity, hands, legs. These things do the actual activity. So we have 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas. So here, if you see our eyes are blind outside the range of 400 to 700 millimicrons. So after certain range, we cannot see. And if you put too close also, you cannot see. So then how can you say that our eyes are perfect and we can see everything, right? Same thing with our ears are deaf outside the range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Orange after sugar becomes sour. Orange after lemon becomes sweet. Same thing, but because of our condition in different situations, the same object tastes differently. So you cannot say that after eating sugar, if you taste orange, it becomes sour. After taking lemon, if you take orange, it becomes sweet. So just based on one thing, you cannot say that orange is this particular taste. So because of our limitations. And water touched with warm hand appears cool, touched with cold hands appear warm. Right? Okay, there's some more examples. So to be illusioned. So do you agree with the first point that we have imperfect senses, our senses are not perfect? Everybody agrees with that, right? Okay. So to be illusioned. So what do you guys think? Do we get illusioned all the time? Or we never get illusioned at all?
Mirage is an example.
Mirage is an example. When we go to the desert, we see that there is a water, but when you go close, there is no water. So we are under illusion that there is water, but there is no water. So all the time we are illusioned in many ways. So there are some simple examples. What do you see here? Do you see a triangle or 3 Pac-Mans? What do you see here?
Triangle.
Right? Do you see two old couple? Do you see an old couple or one young couple sitting right next to? What do you see here?
And couple sitting next to each other.
There are so many in the picture.
Right? Isn't it an illusion? Suddenly it appears that there is an old couple. But if you look at too closely, then you see that there is one lady and one man with guitar. The tendency to commit mistakes. So because of our imperfect senses, we agree that our senses are imperfect. So with imperfect senses, it's quite natural for us to make mistakes also. So we have tendency to commit mistakes. So many times people, even the scientists, they say something like 50 years ago they said something. After a few years, then they come back and say, no, sorry, that was not the right thing. This is the right thing. So people keep changing things also, and it is quite natural for us to make mistakes. So to err is human because of the imperfect senses and the tendency to be illusioned. So we commit mistakes also. Okay, and there are so many mistakes that were done in the past. You can see that. Of course, we continue to make mistakes in our day-to-day life also. So many mistakes we make. And the last one is the cheating propensity. So, people may say that no, I don't have any cheating propensity. Cheating propensity means, basically even to lie. Lying is a cheating propensity. Right from the child also the tendency is to lie immediately. Right? Otherwise they'll think that my father is going to scold me, my mother is going to scold me, or my teacher is going to scold me. Second defect is
Illusion.
to be illusioned. And the third one is
Commit mistake.
we commit mistake. And the fourth one is we have this cheating
Genetic
propensity. So because of all these things, Pratyaksha Pramana is not the right way of learning knowledge. It may give some information, but it's not the perfect way or is the ultimate way to gain knowledge. Pratyaksha Pramana is not the right one to gain knowledge. Okay? And the second one. So let's see what is the second one. We have Anumana Pramana. Anumana Pramana means basically guesswork or method of speculations. So you speculate something and then based on certain theory you speculate something and you try to learn because of that. Is the Anumana Pramana ultimate? So do we think Anumana Pramana we can gain all the knowledge? Is it possible to learn or by guessworks is it possible to learn? Is it possible?
No.
So basically Anumana means guess. Okay? Pramana means evidence. So by guesswork we are trying to find some evidence. So it may have been like this or perhaps it was like this and then you go and try to do some experiment to prove it. So that's how you are trying to learn something. So what are the drawbacks of Anuman Pramana? What is the drawback? How is it, how Anuman Pramana is not the right one to gain the knowledge? What are the drawbacks of Anuman Pramana?
May never gain anything.
Yes.
Forever.
Yeah, so Anuman Praman, you keep on doing experiments, you may not come to any conclusion throughout your life. It may take lifetimes. You may take many years, long time to understand something because you keep on guessing and you keep on trying something, right? So you may not gain anything at the end of it finally. So yeah, this right? So here a story of a 6 blind men. A 6 blind men were taken to a elephant and they put in different places. And they were asked to come back and say, how does an elephant look? What is an elephant? How is it? So the person who is in the front holding the trunk, for him, what is the elephant? It's just like a pillar. Oh, elephant means a pillar. That's how that person's feeling is. Right? A person who is holding a tail, he got different experience. It's like a tree for him, or a tree trunk for another person
That's
holding
like-
the
that's like
feet.
a
Yeah,
rope.
for another person, it's like a rope, right? So a person holding the the ears, he is feeling something else. So the Anumana Praman or the guesswork is like 6 blind men trying to understand what is an elephant. So they keep guessing and that's all, but they don't get the full picture of what is the elephant. How does an elephant look? Okay. If child wants to know who is her father, what should she do? What is the best way? Is it Pratyaksha Praman? That's not possible. If you want to know who is the father. And then Anuman Praman, do you go on, does the child keep going and guessing who the father of the child is? What's the best way to find the father is? What is that?
Talk to the mother.
Talk to the mother. Ask the mother. Or do you go and start doing the genetic testing? Pratyaksha Pramana, Anuman Praman. Pratyaksha means direct experience with senses, or Anumana means guesswork by experimenting certain things. But if you want to know one's father, just imagine how many people are there, what is the population, and you want to go and do the DNA testing of everybody. By the time you do this, how many years it will take? A lifetime will not be sufficient to find out one's father, right? So here, assuming that we test only 10% of the males on the planet, we will have to test at least 250 million males. Average testing time takes 100 seconds, then it will take 800 years to test, to figure out a father of a child, if you want to do this. So Pratyaksha Pramana and Anumana Pramana, there is no way you can find out these kinds of things. So the best way is to understand the father by asking the mother. Simply go and ask mother, over. So the mother is the authority to tell you who is the father. That's ultimate authority. If you go to the right authority and ask what's the father, then immediately she will tell what is the father. So that is called basically Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana means by hearing. Okay, by hearing from the authority, proper authority, then you can learn the subject. So are there any defects in the Shabda Pramana? So we know that there is some issues with the Pratyaksha Pramana. You cannot get the knowledge from Pratyaksha Pramana, proper knowledge. You cannot get proper knowledge from Anuman Praman. So then the Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman, what is there any pitfalls? Is there any drawbacks in Shabda Praman?
Yes,
The
so
source.
much.
Understanding.
What is that?
Who's the
Like,
creator?
Getting from the right to.
It's maybe genuine source. But how you understand? You can take in different way, I can take in different way, like how you understand the
Yeah, we are coming there.
knowledge we are getting from authority.
Correct. So when I said that there are 4 defects in the human life, right? There are 4 defects we have. So then how does Shabda Pramana help in that situation? So when we said, hear from the right source. But that right source, that source is also human being like us. They also have 4 defects. Then how do you get that knowledge from the Shabda Pramana?
You can't hear from anybody or to hear from the right source.
Yeah. So the hearing, Shabda Pramana is also, we have to hear from the right source. So it is like this. Like there is a difference between the material source and there is a difference between the spiritual source. Meaning, we understand that there is God, there is a supreme power, that is God, which is completely spiritual, is beyond this material time bound. Is not bound to this time, is not bound to these material elements, is beyond this time and space, right? Material world. So we have to see the material source where the knowledge is coming from, or the knowledge is coming from the spiritual source. The material source has the defects, but the spiritual source does not have any defects. So when we want to understand the spiritual knowledge, you have to go to the spiritual source where this knowledge is coming from, because the spiritual source is beyond these 4 defects. So it is called apaurushaya. So this particular knowledge is called apaurushaya. Apaurushaya means beyond our sense perception. This knowledge is coming from beyond our sense perception. So that particular knowledge we can take. We can take that knowledge because that is coming from a source free of all these 4 defects. So what is that knowledge coming from? This source which is called apaurushaya. Okay, that is called our Vedic knowledge. So this Vedic knowledge is the knowledge coming from the spiritual source or God, which is beyond these 4 material defects. So far you are okay with me so far? So that's the reason even the Shabda Pramana, if you are trying to get knowledge from just like that from anybody, especially with respect to understanding God. Okay, I'm not talking about the general material subjects we are talking about. We are talking about understanding God. If you want to understand about God, you need to understand from the source where they are beyond these 4 defects of the human life. So far with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and the advantage of Shabda Pramana is that it will save time. If you go to the proper authority, they will tell you, then you are done. So you don't have to really reinvent the whole thing. You don't have to experiment and take years and years together, right? So the starting point to understand God, the starting point to understand God is learn from spiritual books or a person who is already self-realized. That means the person who has already gone through this knowledge, God-given knowledge, and then he became purified. He already purified. From that person, you can learn because he became purified already. So from these defects, so he is getting the knowledge from the pure source. Then by following the process, he got purified. Then you can gain the knowledge from that particular individual. So the starting point of understanding God, to acquire the knowledge of the God, is to read our scriptures or spiritual books. Spiritual knowledge one has to gain, or approach a person who is already realized this knowledge, understand this knowledge. So that is the Shabda Pramana. Okay. Yeah, this is a question I was asking, so like, wouldn't the authority also have 4 defects? So then I said, the material authority and spiritual authority, to understand God, we need a non-material or spiritual source. So that's what it is. Okay.
Even though we get that spiritual source,
Yeah.
we are still material with that 4 limitations, right?
Correct.
So
And it's a very good point.
Can we really, with that
Yes.
limitations,
Yeah.
I don't know how to question also.
No, your question is very valid question. I understand your question. What you are saying is, yes, the source may be
Still,
perfect, but I am imperfect.
Yeah.
So with my imperfect senses, how can I get the knowledge? Right? That's a question. So that's a very, very fair, very valid question. It is, so there are 2 cases. One is where we are learning from, that person also may be still having some defects. And the other side, we are trying to learn, but we also have defects. So how can I gain the knowledge? So there are two cases. So the first case is, if you take an example of a postman. Okay, if you take an example of a postman may be defective. Postman may have so many defects. personally. But as long as the postman is doing his job, somebody puts a letter in a box, he takes that letter as it is and brings it and gives it to the destination, which is a destination. So even though apparently the postman may not be perfect, but he did a perfect job, meaning he delivered the message as it is without making any changes to it. All he did was he took the knowledge, he presented the knowledge exactly as it is to another person. So even though that person may have some defects, but still he took the knowledge and then he just transferred it.
Yeah.
So that is one source. And the second is we have defects. So then how do I understand? So if you associate with the right persons, the right source, it is like the iron rod does not have a propensity to burn anything. Iron rod doesn't have any fire. It doesn't burn anything, right? If you touch an iron rod. But if you keep that iron rod in fire, what happens? Even though iron rod itself does not have the propensity to, have the fiery nature, but if you keep associating that iron rod in the fire, slowly, what happens? The iron rod also becomes fire, like a fire. We cannot even touch it. It can burn anything. Similarly, apparently, even though we have defects, but if we start associating with somebody who is pure, then what happens? Slowly, we become purified. So then we can have a clear understanding at that point, right? We have to have a starting point. So approaching the scriptures or approaching somebody who is realized, so you have to approach somewhere, you have to start somewhere. Then you practice, you start associating more and more. Then what happens during that process? Your intelligence gets purified. So slowly you can gain the knowledge, and then slowly those defects will not come into the picture. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. That's why this knowledge is called apaurushaya. Apaurushaya means basically beyond our material senses. All this Vedic knowledge that is coming from God is basically apaurushaya. It is known as apaurushaya. Okay. So what is the proof of the authority then? So the knowledge never changes, never been proven wrong, and stood test of time. So even the Vedic knowledge, then somebody would question, then why should I believe this particular Vedas or this particular scriptures? So then this has to go through these three tests. The knowledge never changes. So the so-called scientific knowledge or the science, the technology that we have right now, in the last 200 years or 300 years, so many things changed. Initially they say something, but after 50 years somebody else comes and says, no, that's not correct, something changes. Like that, there is so many changes in that knowledge. But this particular knowledge never changes. It is been there from millions of years ago. It's still the same knowledge. It continues to be the same. There is no change to this knowledge. And never been proven wrong. Whatever is mentioned in this particular scriptures that we call apaurushaya, it's never proven wrong. So it's time tested also. Time tested means it's always from time immemorial. So this knowledge has been tested and never proven wrong. These are the three things of the proof of an authority. When we follow certain things, we have to see these three things. Okay. Okay. Where are we? Okay. So we just discussed about that. Yeah, scriptures are the words of God. That's what I just said. So because this knowledge is coming from beyond our senses and beyond this material world, it's coming from the spiritual source. It is the word of God, and the God is beyond this imperfect defects. The defects that we have. Okay. And sometimes people another question people ask is, should I not directly approach God to gain spiritual knowledge? So why should I go through somebody? Can't I directly go to God, or can't I directly meet God and get the knowledge? Is it possible to do that? Is it possible? So it is like, like, do you directly try to approach Einstein to learn any science? What do you do to learn? Yes, Raj.
So isn't that the yogis, the people who are in the forest and all, isn't that what they did? Didn't they connect to God to get those scriptures or the word?
Yeah. There are some people, those who try to go to Himalayas and they try to meditate upon, but still that preliminary knowledge is given to them first of all. So even to go to Himalayas, somebody has to, unless there are some special souls, which is very, very rare. They are enlightened, by birth, or certain things happen to some people. But in general, you need to have some guru or somebody to give that knowledge to do certain things also, right? Then they go and they meditate upon, and even to meditate upon, they need to know how to meditate properly. So that's what it is. So one does not have to directly go to God to learn about God. So as long as you have authorized scriptures, authorized agents, like you to understand science or the gravity, law of gravity or anything, you don't go and talk to Einstein. You can't say that, okay, unless Einstein comes and tells me, I'll not believe this theory. You go to universities and the proper professors, authorized professors, and you learn from them. Or there are some books. So then you learn from those kinds of books. Okay, that's what it is. So similarly, the scriptures are the words of God where you can learn about God. Okay. And I just mentioned the Vedas, or Vedic knowledge is infallible. Infallible means basically there are no faults in the Vedic knowledge because the God is the source of all that. Okay. Yeah, as I just mentioned, come from perfect source. Where did Vedic scriptures come from? So the Vedic scriptures come from, again, is the Shruti, basically that means oral reception. So the Vedic scriptures that come from God and it was spoken to, it was revealed to Lord Brahma. Of course, we are jumping ahead with this topic, who is Lord Brahma and all, that's a different topic. But so the point is that knowledge is revealed to Lord Brahma. From there, it went on. So that's how the knowledge has been given to the successor after that. Okay, but the source is coming from God Himself. Then this is Vedavyas, the picture of Vedavyas. Vedavyas was the one who compiled all this Vedic knowledge, basically. Okay. And what is the proof of validity of scriptures? It is a manual for our living, how to lead life and how to continue our life to learn about God. And also it's a proven truth. We will see what are the proven truths that came from Vedas. And what are the predictions, some of the predictions that Vedas did, okay, we'll see that. So basically Vedas are a body of complete and perfect knowledge. If any part of the Veda is proved wrong, incomplete or contradictory, then one can reject the entire body of Vedic knowledge. That's a challenge that is posted, Okay, so these are all the Vedic knowledge that we have. So we have, basically it can be categorized into two categories. One is the Shruti, another one is the Smriti. Under Shruti we have Vedas, Upavedas, Vedangas. Under the Vedas we have Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads. So under Vedangas you have Kalpas, Siksha, so Vyakarana, Nirukti, Chandas, Jyotisha. So whatever we are learning now in any college or anywhere, everything is a branch of this thing only, coming from here only. Whatever we are learning, it is coming from our Vedic knowledge, branches of our Vedic knowledge. So anyway, so we don't have to go through each and every of them right now, but I'll forward this information to you guys later, and I can post it later. But this much Vedic knowledge we have. Again, there are so many Puranas. Within the Puranas, there are 18 major Puranas, there are 18 minor Puranas, there are Itihasas. So some of them we have not even heard, so Darshanas. So some of them we may not even have heard about these kinds of things. But there is so much Vedic knowledge that is given by the Supreme God to us.
I'm sorry, but you consider, right? It must have taken hundreds of years just to write all that.
If it is like a regular human being like us, yes, it may take hundreds of years. But if it is directly coming from a source which is Apaurishayam, is beyond our material thing, then it doesn't take much time. That's how it is. If I sit and write, yes, it will take 100 years or more. I may not be even able to do that in my lifetime. It's not possible. But it's directly coming from the Lord through oral reception. It is possible for them to do that. Okay. So in Kali Yuga, in this particular age, that's called Kali Yuga, the main important scriptures, so of course there are so many scriptures as we see in the picture. There are so many things, right? It is impossible for us to go through all this knowledge. It's impossible. Entire lifetime, even if you take multiple lifetimes, it's not possible to go through all these things, right? So that's why we have to take the essence of all these Vedic scriptures. The essence is condensed and given in these two scriptures. One is Srimad Bhagavatam, the other one is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So if we follow these two things in our lifetime, that itself is good enough. You will understand completely who is God and you will realize God. So these are the important scriptures in Kali Yuga, for Kali Yuga. Okay? And of course, it doesn't mean that Vedas are useless or anything like that, but the conclusion of Vedas, everything is in this two books. If you understand these two books, that means you understood the entire Vedas, everything. All the knowledge that is mentioned in the previous slide, you got everything if you understand these two scriptures, if you follow them. So basically, these Vedas are like our instruction manual. When you purchase any, purchase a new, whether it's a television or a washing machine or a stove, it comes with a manual how to operate it properly. If you do not follow the manual, what happens? You will not operate it properly and it will become defective very soon. You cannot do it. You will not get the full benefit of that. Similarly, for us, for the human life, the instruction manuals the scriptures are like our instruction manuals. So that how to live, how to lead life, and how to learn about God and how to reach God. So all these things are mentioned in this scripture. It's like an instruction manual for all of us. And modern science also confirms our Vedic truth. So Bhugol means, in our Vedic scriptures already said, earth is round. Initially some scientists came and said, it's flat. But then after some time they realized that no, it's not flat, it is Bhugol. Goal means basically round. So it's round. And then they talked about the seven Saptadvip. It's already mentioned in our scriptures. So we have 7 continents we talk about, right? But it's already mentioned long back in our scriptures. 7 Saptadvip, we call it. And human embryology. Of course, there is so much about the cow dung, how pure cow dung is, even though it is coming from the cow. It's a remnant of cow, but still it is very, very pure, and it can cure so many diseases and things like that. It is mentioned in our Vedic scriptures. Scientists did not agree in the beginning, but now they understand the importance of cow dung. And of course, the science theories are always changing. So they keep saying something, after a few years again somebody else comes and says, something else. So these are some of the examples. 19th century, atom, smallest particle, but then 20th century again, our atom is basically 3 things: electrons, protons, and neutrons. So things keep changing in the science, right? Okay, so these are all the things. But the Vedic truths never change. Modern man is turning to yoga, meditation, Vastu Shastra, astronomy, astrology, metallurgy, etc. from our scriptures. All these things are coming from scriptures only. At some point, people say that everything is science. You don't have to believe in it. But directly or indirectly, people are following all these things that are mentioned in our Vedic knowledge, our Vedic scriptures. Yoga has become like a so common term in America now. Every nook and corner you see yoga. Like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the term was not there. Yoga is not there. But now everybody is saying yoga, yoga, yoga. Where is that coming from? But this yoga is already there in our Vedic scriptures. Everything is coming from there. So some of the predictions that were made in our scriptures. So Lord Buddha in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 3rd chapter, 24th verse talks about Lord Buddha's incarnation. And this was written thousands of years ago. Srimad Bhagavatam was written thousands of, of course it is coming from the spiritual world, but even Vedavyasa put this down 5,000 years ago. But this prediction was already there at that time. Okay, right? Srimad Bhagavatam already predicted that. And Srimad Bhagavatam mentions about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago in India, but his prediction was there in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Okay. Not only in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is mentioned in so many other scriptures, so many other Puranas. It's already mentioned. And predictions about Chanakya, again in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned about Chanakya, very, very popular personality, right? And about Jesus Christ, it is mentioned in Bhavishya Purana, Atharva Veda, Kanda 20. So it is mentioned about Jesus Christ's appearance, even Muhammad Prophet, Bhavishya Purana, it's mentioned that Muhammad Prophet is going to come. So like this, there are so many things that have been predicted, that are predicted in our Vedic scriptures, that became true, and it is time tested. It's been there from thousands of millions of years ago. The same knowledge is coming in the parampara. It's coming there, and whatever is mentioned in the scriptures, it's never proven wrong till date. So it is continuing. So that is the reason one has to follow the proper scripture, which is Apaurusheya, which is coming from the spiritual source, to understand the knowledge of the to gain the knowledge about the Lord. So Shabda Pramana is that's the reason Shabda Pramana is the best means to understand or to know the Supreme God or God. Okay. So sometimes people may ask, is accepting scriptures blind faith? Can we accept scriptures like is it a blind faith to accept some scriptures?
Yes.
How do we accept any scripture? How do you accept anything?
It's a school. Like when we learn math, we learn science, we learn whatever, we accepted it. Similarly, being authority, I can accept it. I don't have any issues. And like you said, if it's not proven otherwise, accept it.
So it's a blind faith.
For me, if I read, yes. I'm
So
not
can we
reading.
blindly accept the scriptures? Can we blindly accept? What do you think? Is accepting scriptures is a blind faith?
I don't think so,
Why is it not a blind faith?
because that is the truth.
Yeah, that's your believing in it.
Maybe if you apply it
Why
with
do you
the works,
why do you think that is the truth?
many people have already learned and experienced and passed it on.
Because you said it is coming from right source, right? So
Mm.
first we have to accept it, otherwise we don't.
Otherwise
enjoy
you're not.
it.
If we
You
know
can't
that
do
he's,
that.
yeah, God is the source of everything, if that is coming from the Lord, then that I accept.
Okay. Okay. What is faith?
Belief that's not based
What is
on
faith?
truth.
What is that?
Trust.
Trust.
Believing in something, that's all.
Believing in something, having trust on something, having confidence in something, having hope in something. That is basically faith. So, and this faith comes naturally for all of us. We always, we naturally have faith on some things, isn't it? We always have faith in something in our life. When we get into the flight, we have faith that the pilot is going to take us to somewhere. When we are going for shopping, we have a faith that we are going to come back safely. When we are doing something, when we go somewhere, that this air is pure and it's not going to cause any poison to me. So we always are living in faith. So we always have, the faith is very natural for all of us. We put faith on some things all the time. So we always put faith in certain things. So, but at the same time, we should not have blind faith. It has to be a reasonable faith. So how do we understand blind faith versus reasonable faith? Like blind faith means whoever I see wearing a white coat, I say that he's a doctor. That's a blind faith. Okay, this person is wearing a white coat, especially in India. Here doctors wear different scrubs, but in India, doctor means immediately the white coat. That's what comes into our mind. So if I see somebody wearing a white coat, okay, he's a doctor. Can I say like that? That's a blind faith. Since he's wearing a white coat, then he says that I accept him as a doctor. That's a blind faith. But what is the reasonable faith? Reasonable faith means you have to understand that not everybody, whoever wears coat is not a doctor. You have to go and check their credentials. You have to ask somebody, you have to inquire somebody is really a doctor or not. So we have to do all these things. So similarly, in order to develop faith, there is an acronym called HOPES. How do we develop faith on anything? HOPES, HOPES. Okay, if you remember this acronym, HOPES. That's how you develop faith. HOPES, HOPES. First thing is to develop faith. First thing we have to do is hearing. So first is you have to hear. H means hearing. Okay. Next thing is, okay, you heard something, but then you have to observe. After hearing, you have to observe. Okay, I am saying this person is saying something. Is he really saying the truth? Is it really true? Then you have to go and observe what this guy is doing. So that is observing, hearing, observing, and then P. P means practicing. So whatever you hear, whatever you observe, then you practice, you put it into practice. Then your faith strengthens. Otherwise, it will become theoretical. So you heard something, you observe something, but if you don't act on it, you don't practice on it, then you don't have any knowledge on it, right? And PE, the E means basically experience it. So you practice it, then you experience it by yourself. Then your faith strengthens when you share it with others. Then your faith becomes even stronger when you share it with others. So HOPES. So your faith strengthens when you hear it first, you observe, okay, and then P means practice, E means experience it, then you share it. Just by doing this, your faith becomes strengthened. So that's why one should not put blind faith, but at the same time, the scriptures are the starting point to understand God. It's like if you want to go from, I always give this example, if you want to go from, Columbus to New York, how do you go?
Map,
Google Maps or map quest.
car or flight.
What is that?
Car
If you
or
want to go by car. You want to go by car, what do? You just go randomly, pick up the car and go out of the house and you go randomly wherever you
Yes,
go.
station.
Will you reach New York forever? You'll never reach. I mean, you may reach New York after 100 years. You don't know. But trying different things, you may go. But what is the best way to go to New York? You pick up Google Maps, because Google Maps is proven. At least blindly we pick up Google Maps and then follow it. But even if you do not have complete faith in that person, or you ask somebody who had gone to New York multiple times, so then you ask that person, how do you go from here to New York? Then he will say, you get off this road, then you enter into 70, then you go on 70 east, and then you get blah blah blah. Then you have to take the first step, right? First of all, you have to see the credentials of the person. You know that that person has gone to New York multiple times, so that means I have some faith that okay, this guy has gone to New York so many times, so I can hear something. But still, you don't have to blindly believe in him. What you need to do, okay, this guy gave this instruction. So he said, after 2 miles, you will see a traffic light where you have to make a left on Roberts Road. So you drive 2 miles and see what happens. Yes, there is a Roberts Road. Okay, this guy said correctly. Then you make a left. Then you go certain distance. He said after 1 mile, you take a right on Rome Hilliard Road. You drove and then you saw the road. Then you saw 70. Then after some time, your faith becomes strong. Okay, after at least driving for a certain time, all the landmarks, whatever this person mentioned, is coming. So that means this person said, whatever this person said it makes sense. So I can follow this person. And then from there onwards, you can take over. So you don't have to blindly follow anything. One should have a reasonable faith. With that reasonable faith, you have to take the first step. Then only you can learn any subject. Otherwise, it's not possible to do that. Okay. So far so good?
Yeah.
Okay, I think, today actually we finished whatever we wanted to finish. So anyway, so today, we basically talked about how to acquire, that's the main focus of this session today, how to acquire knowledge about God. So basically, yeah, I'm coming on this. So there are 3 ways one can gain any knowledge: Pratyaksha Pramana, Anumana Pramana, Shabda Pramana. And we saw the pitfalls of Pratyaksha Pramana because of the 4 defects in us: imperfect senses, to be illusioned, tendency to commit mistakes, and also cheating propensity. Because of all those 4, we cannot use Pratyaksha Pramana to understand God. And then Anumana Pramana is guesswork, it is time taking, and you may never come to any conclusion by going through the Anumana Pramana. Last time I don't know if I gave this example of somebody, there are 4 doctors, 4 surgeons. I don't know if I gave that example, but still I can give, some of them are new. There are 4 surgeons, very, very popular surgeons. They are sitting in a, in a hall, some, conference room, they are sitting there. And they were chatting. After a long time, they met these 4, specialists. One is a kind of a, surgeon, heart surgeon. One is a brain surgeon. One is, the bone surgeon. So different, orthopedic surgeon, they are there. And then they saw one person dragging his feet. He was not able to walk properly. He was dragging his feet. Then these 4 doctors, the scientists, one person is telling, okay, so you see that person? He's dragging his feet like that. He's not able to walk. It could be because, his joint in the ankle got broken. That's why he's not able to walk. He's dragging his feet like that. One doctor says like that. Another doctor says, no. The way he's walking, that's not the reason. Maybe something happened in his brain. That's the reason, he's not getting the signal to walk properly. That's the reason he's walking. Like that, all these 4 different scientists, 4 scientists are giving 4 different reasons why that person is walking like that, dragging his feet. And then finally, one guy says, why don't we ask to confirm who is right? So then they go and says, what is the problem? What is the medical condition that you have? And that guy gets bewildered. So medical condition? I don't have any medical condition. Then why are you dragging your feet? I just got these slippers. One of the slippers broke. So I'm not able to walk properly. That's what I'm dragging. Right? So that's all guesswork. You cannot understand something just by guessing. So you can just directly go as the right person to get that knowledge. Right? So finally we came to Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana is the one hearing from the right source or authority. So that's the best way to acquire knowledge about God. And we talked about blind faith versus reasonable faith. One should not have a blind faith, but at the same time, Start somewhere, accept some, the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures that are coming from God, and then start practicing. Then your faith strengthens. So, in order to strengthen the faith, HOPES, hopes, basically, So, first hear, and hear from the right sources, then observe, then practice, then experience, and then you share. When you share with others, your faith strengthens. So that's how one can acquire the knowledge about the Lord and experience Lord eventually. That's what happens. Okay. All right. So now, Mataji, you have a question. You said.
Yeah, so you said that knowledge came from God to Brahma.
Yeah.
So how do we know that? Like,
Again, that is mentioned in the scriptures. So any knowledge that is coming from God, that comes from the scriptures only. The word of God is scriptures. That's where we get the knowledge from.
so Brahma and then
Brahma, from Brahma, he
Yes.
gave it to Narada,
So he
and then
wrote
from
that.
there, yeah, it goes to
He-
Vyasadeva.
he wrote that it came from the
Yeah, from there. Of course, Vyasadeva is also incarnation of the Lord. So he himself is the Lord, so he has all the knowledge and he can put it down there. But in general, the knowledge comes from the Supreme Source and then it gets down in that way. Okay. Sandeep, you are very quiet. I am getting bored today. And Raj also.
Class is done before it.
On time today, 8 o'clock. I said we'll finish it at 8 today. I think exactly 8 o'clock.
I'll make it interesting for you.
Yes.
So, I mean, not trying to,
Yeah.
cause a rift or anything, but, so again, how long have you been doing these, Ram? Practicing?
About 18 years.
18 years.
18.
Have you felt that you have reached somewhere in the sense of,
God.
yeah,
No,
Or is it
that's the
feeling-
question he wants to ask is, are you the right source for us to?
No. all the first year I want to know that did you get anything? What do you feel? Or have you met somebody who reached there and what do you feel in that presence? I guess you can answer the question both ways.
Yeah. So, of course, I haven't. There is a long way for me personally, but definitely, if I look back my journey, where I was 18 years ago and where I am right now, I can significantly see some change. Meaning, with respect to the knowledge, with respect to certain realizations, with respect to certain understanding of our scriptures and God, definitely I came a long way, but there is a long way to go also. So that's number one. And number two, yes, I do have hope and I do have faith that this is going to work, because I have seen people. I have not seen God, but I know people who have seen God. At least, that faith I have by looking at them, by looking at what they speak, how they behave, how they act. At least I know that yes, there is somebody who has seen God. By following that person, I can reach that. That's what it is.
The main thing you said is the realization, the
Yeah.
knowledge that helps you elevate.
Yeah,
something to that.
definitely.
It's all good too. I mean, physically, mentally, it helps you as a human being as well. It's not just the spiritual part. But there are good effects on as you're
Yeah.
doing that, right? That's
I mean, see, few years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people used to think about only intelligent quotient, IQ.
mm.
People look at only IQ of the person.
Mm.
Now slowly EQ came,
Mm.
emotional quotient. But now SQ, spiritual quotient, is also very, very important in life. From the childhood, that plays a major role in any human being, any life actually. That's how spiritual dimension is an important aspect of life for everyone. It is going to be.
I don't know whether it's stupid question, but I want to ask if IQ, we know what it will give in our life. Like, we will reach for a PhD, you will get this type of.
By IQ, yes.
But SQ, what it will take you, like where it will take you.
Spiritual quotient.
Yeah, where human will, I don't know. I mean, you got the question, right?
Yes, I understand.
So-
How does spiritual quotient helps?
Yeah,
That's-
where it will take us.
Yeah, spiritual quotient is the one that helps us to achieve our ultimate goal. So first of all, if you understand our ultimate goal of human life, ultimate aim of the human life can be achieved only by the spiritual quotient, not by the intelligence quotient, IQ and EQ.
Okay.
So, like in the first session, we talked about the ultimate goal of life is to have enjoyment or have happiness, right?
Yeah.
But we are experiencing all that in this world on a temporary basis. It doesn't last long. We understood that also, right? So, and also the happiness that we are thinking, we think that is the only happiness. But if you understand the spiritual happiness, you understand, you see what is the difference between the, yeah. So to get that level of happiness, number one, so the spiritual quotient helps me. That's main thing. And number two, the spiritual quotient helps you to go through certain things in your life. It's not only about future that okay, if I practice this after 100 years, I am going to get something. It's not only that. While in this life, while you are following, when people go through the struggles in their life, the spiritual dimensions helps you to perceive things in a right way. When people are going through the struggles in their life, which is normal. Everybody has to go through some miseries in life. Everybody has to go through some setbacks in life. Spiritual dimension, spiritual quotient gives you the right perspective of looking at things properly. Okay? It helps you to tolerate the inconveniences that we go through. All these things will be, and we can acquire by the spiritual knowledge, spiritual quotient.
So it is more experience based.
Yeah. It's more experience based. It's not just theory. It's a science.
Yeah.
It's a science. It's a science. You know, the people who are more spiritual, the way they handle when they go through setbacks in life is much different from the people who do not have the spiritual. In general, of course, there could be some exceptions where the people who do not have any spiritual knowledge, they may be able to accept, do well also. I'm not saying it's not possible, right? Sometimes people who are ignorant also, they will be very happy. Ignorance is bliss for some people.
Actually, yeah.
Right? Ignorance is bliss for some people. Those who are in ignorance, that itself is happiness. But unless you know what is the real thing, you know, so spirituality not only helps you to reach your ultimate goal, but it will help you to navigate through life properly and have a proper consciousness when you are going through situations in life. Akshay, you want to say anything about it? How spiritual? What is the help? How does spiritual quotient helps?
Yeah, I think Prabhuji already covered it. But it's a very natural progression, just like when we are hungry and we start eating, our hunger gets satiated. So as Prabhuji was explaining, it's a very practical process. It's science. Science means two things. It's theory and experiment both. So somebody may tell you that, you know, H2O is water. But you go to the lab and you combine those elements and you actually see that if I do this experiment, then I will actually be able to see water. Similarly with spiritual practices, all these things that we are talking about, if you follow these scriptures, yes, you know, we may be work in progress, but you will still see changes from what we were before to what we are now, and you also have a clear goal in sight. Where are we going to go? So it is not a blind faith in the sense that, you know, okay, until I reach my final destination, I'm not going to experience it. Some people say, oh, so anybody who tells you that you will be liberated after death is a lie. As Prabhuji is explaining, you actually experience liberation. The souls who are liberated, they become liberated while they are going through their life. Anyway, a lot more to be said about it, but I think you already explained it.
Yeah.
So, Prabhu,
Yeah. Yes.
if we go back, you are talking about the supreme enjoyer and stuff like that, right? So, does God also suffer?
Does God suffer?
Yeah. Because see, if humans are suffering, if humans have bad qualities or humans have some tendencies, right, that should come from somewhere, right? We say everything has an origin.
Correct.
So does God also experience our emotions and our separations or our anxieties and our whatever we have? That should come from somewhere, right?
You're
And so
thinking
does,
God is a human?
obviously.
No. I don't know. In this class we said
Supreme
light is
human.
God.
No.
We have
People are
different
saying that to different things, but God is a human. We will come back to it later in the
okay.
session.
Yeah.
But-
So the next session will cover, you know, we say yes, there is a God exists. This session proves that there is God, that it is
But this
established.
session proves there is something supreme brain,
Yeah.
like
So-
super brain, that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like God.
Yeah, that's
We
what
didn't-
people
we
call it
didn't,
God.
Name
Yes.
it as a God. We said
Yeah, we didn't
supreme
put any form yet,
Yeah.
right? So,
So in the
But-
next session, we will see a little more about God. So that means what exactly.
Okay.
the
So
form
try,
of
try,
God.
try to answer his question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, that's-
I did not forget. I'm not missing it. Yeah.
Try. I say try. I know you're not going to be able to answer him.
So yes, God is not the emotionless light or emotionless energy or yes, everything is coming from the Lord. He is source of everything. So obviously everything is coming from the Lord. But it does not mean that all the bad things that we do, so that yes, He is the source of everything. But at the same time, it's like the darkness. So darkness is absence of light, basically, right? There is no existence of darkness unless there is a light. There is no meaning for darkness unless there is a light. Similarly, in the material realm, whatever the qualities that we have in the spiritual realm, that is the perverted reflection that we are experiencing here. Okay, so there is no lust in the spiritual world, spiritual realm, but there is only love, right? That's the origin. The origin of love is Krishna. But that same love, when it comes into this realm, material realm, we are experiencing in a different way called lust. That's what it is. So in that sense, everything is origin is God, but we are experiencing the perverted reflection of that same object, same experience. We are doing in an opposite way. That's what it is. So that is one thing. And the second point is God experiencing our pains? Of course, God experiences. It's not that God, okay, you do whatever you want, I don't care about you. It's not like that. God is an emotional person, emotional entity. So emotional, loving Father. So he does experience. He does want all of us. He's feeling the pain of all of us. He wants us. That
No, but
Is he
Ram, I think in your, I don't know which class, but you did say this before, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was up there, so all the souls were there, and then they were getting bored. I mean, that is my and they said, we want to do something, we want desires. So God said, okay, you know what? Yeah, I made
Yeah.
this for you.
Yeah.
You go and try to figure out this thing, but we forgot that we came from. He wants us to come back, right? That's what you said before.
I mentioned last time.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
the
similar to that subject, meaning
Right.
he knows the feelings. Question.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
of
that's what you're saying. He feels the pain, but again, he's the big guy, and he's fine. He's like, that's part of the journey to come back to me. I'm not gonna give you an easy way out, right?
Correct. Because one has to learn the lesson. For example, if a child, if a small child is, wants to put the finger in the fan, and the father says, no, don't do it. If you put your finger in the fire or fan, you are going to hurt. You get hurt. But the kid keeps saying strongly that, no, I want to do this. She's crying like crazy. Then, okay, you just go and experience it. Just they put the finger, then only, immediately it's okay. Next time I'm not going to touch this or do this. So, again, father is doing that not out of vengeance
Yeah, yeah.
for the kid, so that kid learns something and comes out. So similarly,
I also had this other question. I know. If you could
but does it answer your question?
Yeah, I think.
yeah, that's-
Did it answer his question?
Yeah. It's good. No, I always feel, dark, light, dark, so demon, good, whatever. My point is, even demons are made by God, or even in Kali Yuga, right, at the end when the big guys are going to fight, they're also, because we are supposed to matter, we're going to evolve into demons. So everything is made by God, simply put, good and bad. Is that true?
If you go with the theory, okay, that the bad is made by God.
I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah, let's understand. Let's assume that is true.
Yeah.
If the bad is also made by God, why would God made some people bad and some people good? Why does He do that?
Karma. It's based on your past life, what you did.
So based on
But
karma,
again, why did you do bad thing in the first place? Yeah. Supreme.
right? It's not that God wanted people to be bad.
Yeah.
It's not that He created bad and you do this bad. No, that's not what God wanted. God wanted only good things from all of us. He wanted us to do good things. But again, so there are certain questions. The
But is
answer
it to appreciate the good, there is something has to be bad there?
Exactly.
to experiencing some.
So again, God made that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get you, but who made it? Up there.
No, the point, Raj, is that there are certain principles, certain things which is beyond our perception right now. So one of the questions, one of the challenges to this entire equation is, how did we come from? Such a pure souls, pure individuals, how did we end up in this place? That's a $1 billion question.
Not in the scriptures.
It is there, that's what I'm saying. So there are multiple theories, but we cannot perceive, we cannot understand right now. That's what I think. One of the theories I mentioned last time is that the spirit soul wanted to enjoy, and then, but it has its own questions. People can always challenge that also. Another theory is that yes, we were never part of spiritual world, or we were never with God, but we are, then that's why we fell down.
Right.
And now with this practice of spirituality, then you go back to God. Okay?
So isn't this written in the scriptures, the Vedics?
It is there. That's what I'm saying.
So
It is there.
why would there be two? It'd be one.
Because in the Vedic scriptures, different people can interpret it in different ways.
Okay. Oh, you just contradicted your first statement.
Why?
Authority.
Yeah,
You just
that's
said-
why. No, that's why you have to go to the proper authority. Like for example, our authority.
Oh,
So
Vedic
we
is
are-
an authority.
Yeah. So we are following, for example, Prabhupada in this particular case. Okay. Prabhupada
Ah.
is our authority. So that's where we are getting this knowledge from. And Prabhupada got his knowledge from his master and things like that. So we are getting some knowledge from this. So Prabhupada gave this theory, whatever I just mentioned. The knowledge is that the spirit soul, being very infinitesimal. Okay. Spirit soul is infinitesimal, like us, our individual living entities are infinitesimal, very, very tiny compared to Lord. Lord is supreme, right? He is Vibhu, is everything. And we are Anu, very, very tiny, tiny. So these tiny living entities can come under the influence of ignorance. That is the nature of this tiny living entity. Okay? And where is this ignorance? Ignorance is also a potency of the Lord, potency of God. So since we are very tiny, we can come under the influence of this ignorance. So when we come under the influence of ignorance, then we come here. We say that, okay, now I don't want to be in the spiritual world, you come down here. But again, so this is theoretically we can understand, but it's very hard to perceive at our level. As I mentioned last time also, if you ask a elementary baby 3 minus 5, baby will get bewildered. 3 minus 5, how is that possible? You cannot subtract bigger number from smaller number. But the same baby grows up to middle school, then 3 minus 5 is minus 2. I can do that.
Same
So
with the 4 lakhs of
Yeah.
of consciousness. You have to be a
Exactly.
bottom.
So similarly, we can only theoretically hear what, I can repeat what Prabhupada mentioned in this particular context. Right? But at the same time, Prabhupada said, you can argue this forever, but ultimately, he said, when you are in trouble, your first goal is to come out of the trouble. Don't worry about, don't argue why I ended up here, why I have, So don't worry about that answer right now. It's not that you have to ignore, you don't have to ignore it, but keep it in the parking lot. That's fine. Keep it in the parking lot. You practice, there are so many other things to learn in spiritual life first. You start learning these kinds of things, eventually you will come to a stage where that will make sense to you. It may not make sense right now.
This is IT defect problem solving. Just figure out the solution.
So it is like that. Yes, the answer is given, but do we really understand that right now? With our present situation, we may not be able to perceive that. So, but follow it, and there are so many principles that you follow it, you are able to see the results. Why don't we start the journey, and then at certain stage you come back to the same question. Okay, I want the answer. Then
I thought you know 18 years really, but okay, never mind.
I know the theoretical answer. That's what I'm saying. But can I really perceive that?
Sure.
Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, that's what in our scriptures in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very clearly mentioned why a living entity like us can fall down. It is mentioned already. It is there. I can send you the references why it happens. Okay? Exact same question was asked. Exact same question was asked. Why a pure living entity, pure spirit soul, can come down like this? Same question. It was asked. Then there is an answer that is mentioned. So, like whatever I just mentioned, it is there. But can I really perceive that and understand? Maybe we can just accept it and move on for now. So like that. Sandeep, say something. You have to say something, otherwise the session is not complete today.
Question is more about like, so
I
we
said
said-
say something, not question.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know like it. So we are expecting to, like experience this getting closer to God and all this spirituality only if you have the ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, like people around you also following. right?
It becomes easy.
Right. It becomes easy. Right?
Association.
So in Kali Yuga, we know that it is not easy to get in this association,
To get the association.
right?
Okay.
So
Continue. I'll tell that.
like-
Continue. Yeah.
like you know that it is not easy. So why does God create this difficulty to even get to Him? Like He wants us to get to Him, but now you're creating a difficult association. You're not like I want to come, but no, I'll put you in a difficult situation. Then you come. I want to be in like a very difficult situation. Then only you come out of it. Then I will take you.
No, actually, this Kali Yuga, the age that we are in, this is the best period to be in. Not even Treta Yuga, not even Satya Yuga, not even Dwapara Yuga. Kali Yuga is the best age for God realization. Because God has given us the best, simplest, easiest process. You cannot even imagine that process anywhere, even in previous ages. So you cannot blame that, why God put you in this situation. God is giving you the simplest, easiest way to get back to Him. There's nothing, simpler than that.
Tell, what is it?
So Raj is very eager.
I'm getting to hear you bring that.
He's creating so many problems, so they're thinking of God.
So, the simplest
So the
way,
Kali Yuga is creating problems.
the simplest way He is giving is to chant the holy names. For that, you can be anywhere. You can be in a desert where there is not even a single living entity. You can still practice bhakti. You can go back to God.
So bhakti and that happens with association. Right?
With that association, it becomes easy.
Right.
Not only that.
I mean, if you don't have people around you who are let's say naysayers or like who may influence you out of it, like because in Kali Yuga it's known that people would not be focusing more on God and they would be like
Correct.
away from it.
Materialistic.
So how do you say that you would get that? I know even the chanting is easy, but how is that easy when you don't have people following you?
No. So chanting is the easiest process. Even if you are alone, you can practice that. That's number one. Yes, in the association of devotees, it becomes easy. There is no doubt about that. Only in the association that your faith strengthens and you can practice better and easy. That's totally. But if you look at the world right now, by the mercy of Prabhupada and so this ISKCON, there are more than 660 centers in the entire world. So pretty much in the world, wherever you go, there are 660 temples, right? I'm just talking about ISKCON. Of course, there are some other spiritual organizations. I'm strictly talking about ISKCON. There are more than 660 ISKCON temples around the world. So it means that wherever you go in this world, any corner of the world, you will find something. You will find an ISKCON temple or some devotee where you can get the association. So it has become like that. But even otherwise, thanks to technology and science, so you can associate through the science and technology. Even if you are in a remote place where there is no temple, where there are no devotees association, at least you can start associating with Vani, means with hearing. From it could be YouTube, it could be some lectures. Then what you can do, you are put in that situation, if you have a strong desire, you will make a community there. Then you create a community of people where you can build the whole thing, right? Then you can have that association at that point. You
But
can do that.
getting association is the karma too, right?
No. Getting association is, I wouldn't say, bhakti
Bhakti.
is bhakti. To get bhakti is not based on karma. Bhakti is not based on sukruti. Because I did some pious activity in my previous life, now I am able to become a devotee. No. Bhakti seed is beyond all these things. Bhakti can be obtained only by the mercy of another devotee. That's it. Period. Nothing. It's not because I did some lot of pious activity in my previous lives. I did donate so many things. Nothing like that. Bhakti is completely independent. Bhakti seed is planted in a person only by mercy of another devotee.
That's why you say Prabhu, that's why you say Mata. Right?
I mean, that could
I
be
call
part of-
Prabhu because
Yeah.
I need you, I want you to, because I'm serving you, right? That's
Yeah.
bhakti, right?
Yeah.
So
So you
still I
want
don't
to
get
serve.
it.
What is that?
Still I don't get it. So bhakti you are getting from other devotees.
Devotees only. That's how you get
Why
bhakti.
some devotees get that bhakti and why some people don't.
Some people don't get because they don't want to take that. They're just free will. In many cases, they do hear about bhakti, they do hear about Harinam, they do hear about books, they do hear about Bhagavad Gita. They hear so many things, but they just don't want to take it.
Yeah.
They're just their free will.
So why?
They're free, they don't want to accept it, that's all. It's,
So, but whoever is, probably Mataji's question is, whoever is taking it,
Hmm.
because of their Sukriti, they have, at least they have taken the first step or not?
yeah,
That is
that,
also
the
not
tendency,
Sukriti.
no, the Sukriti tendency helps, but that is not the cause for your birth. Okay, so do you understand what I mean? So it is like, if you have proper Sukriti, some pious Sukriti, that might help you to accept it easily. That concept is there. But we cannot say that because I did some pious activity, that's why I became a devotee. Meaning, bhakti started because of that. Do you understand what the difference between that? No? Your pious reasons are not, your piety is not the reason to become a bhakta or bhakti, to get bhakti. Bhakti is completely independent of all these things. It's beyond. Bhakti is not forced because of your karma. Bhakti is not forced because of certain things. Bhakti is completely causeless mercy of another devotee or Krishna.
Now you lost me.
What is it?
Now you lost me totally.
Whereas-
I was fine earlier, now you.
Until now you're fine. Okay. Now we can start another discussion.
I thought it was because, because we have knowledge, then you have to apply the intelligence to the knowledge, and then the hopes thing where you take the first step. Now you're saying, forget all that.
No, I didn't say forget all that.
No, I mean, I don't know, but bhakti, right? So what's bhakti? Help me define what bhakti, guys. I mean, I'm getting confused now. I thought bhakti was service. Or,
Service of what?
I don't know. Another human being to the Lord.
Bhakti is serving the Lord with devotion and love. That is bhakti.
But
Serving Lord.
serving another human being with love and devotion is equal to that.
Serving another devotee,
Because
another
that's
human.
a
Human
mechanism. That's a mechanism. Serving
Mhm.
people is a mechanism to
Yeah.
serve the Lord.
Serving other people with proper consciousness. Like for example, people say, Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. Have you heard of that saying? Manava Seva is Madhava Seva means serving other human beings is basically, Madhava means God, Krishna. So serving human beings is serving God. That's a common saying, normal saying many people say, because they want to do charitable work and social work. They say that this is what is ultimate. If you serve people, then you are serving God. That's what it is. But is that really true? Is it really true? What do you think? Why?
I mean, if you are serving, how do you know that serving the material body is pleasing God who is not a material body?
How do you know what even pleases God?
What?
How do you even know what pleases God in the first place?
Yeah, that has to come from authority as well.
Well, so serving human for their well-being, isn't that by default serving God? Because it's their well-being.
What is the
How is it-
well-being?
how is it
What is the
well-being?
what is the meaning of well-being? How do you know? How do you define well-being of
Yes.
another individual?
If there are people who don't have jobs, who are maybe let's talk about Israel and going on, right? So there are people who have famine going on, right? So if you can help those people, for example, I'm going extreme. I'm going just to give
Yeah,
an extreme
yeah.
example, right? Then you are looking after their well-being. Now, unfortunately, their well-being is only short time. We cannot help them throughout their life. So that's a bit of a somebody has to figure out something. I don't have the answer.
That's the answer, right? You answered
So
your
you may feed them, you may.
Well, help me understand this then. Over here in ISKCON, we prasadam. It's a big emphasis on prasadam around here. What is that?
What is that?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
Why there is so much emphasis on prasadam?
Yeah. Free lunch at ISKCON. Come and have lunch. So again, I'm trying to understand that, right? Because I'm not saying you.
Actually, ISKCON is
but
known
I'm
as
trying to understand.
ISKCON is known as kitchen movement also.
So now you say because we are Krishna conscious, that's why we are doing the right thing. What is Krishna conscious? Another question mark. Another question mark. 18 years. What is Krishna conscious? I do not know. I don't think there's an answer. So my point is, do what you can, and that itself is serving the Lord. That's how that's what I was trying to get to.
So what do you think, Akshay? Is not wanted something?
You can talk about prasadam first. Help me understand that. The other question is why is big emphasis on prasadam? Let's talk about that.
You want to say something? I can speak, but yeah.
If you have a car,
Mhm.
you have you're putting gas,
Mhm.
like giving you confidence that you can drive, right?
Mm.
But why don't you put water and drive then? in the
Because
car?
I know I can't. Water will not get the car running.
Because water is not going to drive your car. Okay, so then in that case, like prasadam is the
Fuel for the
coming from the Lord. It transforms your body so that you can serve the Lord.
Well, hold on. There's one thing I take it as prasadam. there's another thing that we feed the people who are non-believers, prasadam. So
Yes,
what is
because
the
that-
emphasis of that?
Because that
How do we-
transformation, that is the power of prasadam, which transforms their hearts also. To come closer to God, to realize God, to serve, to do bhakti in the path of.
Yeah, well, that's in the good old days. That's what the Christians used to do, and they used to give charities and all that, so people become Christians. So same thing, we're doing the same thing here. We say, come and join ISKCON, for example, right? So it's a conversion mechanism.
Yeah.
Is I give you something so that you come to me. That's what it is. It's a tit
You're
for tat.
going so deep.
No, seriously, don't take it
No,
on the
it is-
surface,
it is-
guys.
it
Don't
is
take it on
there.
the surface. If you want to go deep, this,
No, you are right. You are right. So all the things that are doing is to bring people, but what is the cost? Not to benefit me, to benefit them.
Well, there's another. I can also challenge that.
No.
A lot of people say your bhakti or your conscience goes better. Chanting, awesome. Spread the word, awesome. Bring people. What do you think the Christians do? Bring people. Then you raise yourself in that level.
No, so that is see it benefits both the ways.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not
Right,
disagreeing.
right. So
I'm not disagreeing.
so here we are in association. So he is sharing it,
yeah.
right? So that he's making you elevated. By that, he's also learning new things. You're asking questions, he's asking questions. He's getting more enriched in his knowledge
I
too.
agree.
So
I
it's
totally
mutual, right? Like, so if I say I'm bringing people just for my benefit, then there is no benefit mutually there, right? So I think that's probably one way to
Again,
see it.
One thing, the consciousness, yes, Christianity is an example, like where you're bringing everybody because you want to feed and then bring, right? But that is the consciousness. But whereas in ISKCON, there is a basis to it, right? There is, how do you say 2 plus 2 equal to 4, right? I mean, let's argue that for the moment right now. Like, why should I believe that 2 plus 2 equal to 4?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, how did you believe 2 plus 2 equal to 4?
No, because I've done it. And
Math teacher.
I 1, 2, 3, 4. I go 4. Yeah. No. See, you're not getting. I get what you're saying. I am totally getting what you're saying. But it goes back to the point that we are trying to encourage people to have realization. We are serving food, so it's an intention. It's not. So my point earlier was we are serving food because those people are helpless, and that's why we're doing.
No.
help
So
them.
Prabhu, so no. He gave prasadam. It was an optional thing, right? It's not because I was hungry. I didn't have
It's
prasadam.
all good.
It's all-
We came. For
Right,
this,
so-
so that's fine.
See, the thing is, when you go to any gathering, what's the common thing? Why do I go for?
Social interaction.
So beyond that social interaction, what food is going to be there?
Of course.
Right?
Motivated.
So
They're
so
humans.
that's one common thing. Right? If I, for example, if I'm giving you a lecture for half an hour, you might like it or you might not like it, right? You don't want to, but at the end, you ate something,
Sure.
right? So everybody will eat or like something after of eating, right? So the process here is the consciousness is transmitted through the prasadam. Why we call it prasadam? It is offered to God, right? In ISKCON, that's the difference, right? It's not like okay, we cook and just give it, but we pass the consciousness through prasadam by offering to the God,
Positive vibes.
right? So
I think I can add one more thing. I
Yeah.
feel like this is what is
no, I'm just
probably the
adding
reason.
what I know. Right? You can so there are more
what
people.
I feel is, I mean, the ultimate goal is everyone wants to reach there, right? So how do you get people? Easiest one is the first time a person comes into a temple, I mean, they might come there only for food.
Yeah.
The second time they might come there, they might listen to something and they might feel interested. Again, they'll have
Yeah.
food. Then the third time they may come in there, they might hear the interesting discussion or something on that and might gain a consciousness and again have some food. So there is a couple things.
And the fifth time they'll be there to make that food as well.
Right,
So
right,
that's the
Yeah, I'm just
that's a
saying,
cycle.
More
yeah,
than
it's
the-
kind of like an incentive to get
more
people.
than around the conscious and God, we are around the
Right.
food.
Yeah,
But the-
exactly. That is
yeah.
why it's called prasada movement or kitchen movement.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
I think
I'm
the faith is a hungry man cannot realize anything for that matter. But
Right.
it's about realizing God.
Right.
So let's say you have a nice car, like you have a full tank of gas, and you are hungry and you don't find food anywhere, right? And your journey is going to be, you're just going to drive like all over, right? So that's one thing. And all these religions are faith-based religions. Again, I'm just sharing what I know.
Yeah.
So when you say faith-based, there is some faith to it, right? So the reason why we are here Because we accept like, you know, the ISKCON as an organization, Srila Prabhupada is a spiritual actor, yes, God exists, Krishna is the Supreme Personality. So that's,
Oh, I'm here because I want to gain knowledge and fight. That's why
Yeah.
I'm here. So that's not
No,
me,
but
I-
yeah, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so prasadam, the way prasadam brings people to the movement is not only the way that you said, that we say, okay, they consciously understand that we are giving them a service and therefore they should come and join us. It's not just that. When we were saying that prasadam, we don't just cook anything and give. We all only cook what is offered to Krishna. Even if we cook something vegetarian and everything, and we don't offer to Krishna, it won't be provided. We first offer to Krishna and then we give.
Okay.
Because when Krishna tastes that prasadam, he spiritualizes the food just by his consuming of that food, and that spiritual potency provides some purification to everybody who eats that prasadam. So it's not just that it's a conscious thing. Okay, you've given me food. It's that when they've eaten that prasadam, they have some spiritual inkling. There's some spiritual inclination. Because they ate the prasadam, they have some spiritual
So
inclination.
I like that answer the best so far. Just throwing it
No,
out.
so another
So
adding point.
because his answer is leading towards spiritualization, not incentivization. So I think that's the
Yeah.
most important thing. And
Yeah.
whether the other person
Yeah.
who ate it agrees or not,
Exactly.
the intent was there.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to ask. That's what I'm trying to understand.
So the one of the commencements address that Steve Jobs gave, right? Like when we were before ISKCON, right, just starting, right? Steve Jobs was referring to a Hare Krishna movement that he would walk 10 minutes or 20 minutes, 8 miles, whatever, he would walk just to have prasadam in the temple. So it just attracts all kinds of people, right? And then
So the reciprocation is 90% of people in this room are using iPhones.
yeah.
But did that address the question?
No, that answer did.
Yeah.
Because that's the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Because
Change
we
of
believe that the food has been
Sanctified or
right?
offset.
Sanctified.
And we hopefully that will put some spirituality into the individual. Whether
Right.
it does or not, that's up to the other person. But that's the philosophy that I'm trying.
Yeah.
No, that's-
So
that's
there is
great.
the thing is the reciprocation is not immediate, right? So it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm feeding, so he's going to come and benefit us. No. So he would have had prasadam today here, but after 20 years or after 15 years, that would have blossomed, and then he will be in another community and doing great things.
So even think
So-
about Sikhism, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole funda anyway.
Right.
That's what they do. They give out prasad. I mean, forget Sikhism. I mean, any temples you go to,
Yeah.
the idea is to share food and contribute.
Right.
So, and I think it's all the same. Everybody has, and just so you know, everybody has the same thought. What he just said. It's blessed by the Lord, and therefore
Right.
there's some spirituality, whether it's ISKCON, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Sikhism, Christianity.
Yeah.
The idea is to give you some spirituality. into
Correct.
it. That's really what the intentions are. So
but in
That's right.
Christianity, do they have something called offering process to the Lord?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah, we're not.
I mean, the point is you're doing in the name of, you're trying to do something good. That's
Yeah.
exactly my point.
Exactly.
See, that's the thing. I don't go into the definitions, right? I go into the intent of things.
Intention. That's
Right?
the
That's the
intention.
most important
Right.
thing. How you do it, whether you get it blessed or not, there people have different ways of blessing. I'm not
Right.
going to challenge that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's to each his own, right? Whatever works.
Yeah, that's why it's called prasadam distribution. We just don't say food. Food can be distributed by
You know,
anyone.
there was a reason I asked the question. I forget what it's, but there was a tangent that I had to ask that question.
Bring the
So
only
tomorrow, Sunday, if you come, we'll feed you paneer actually.
Actually, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to, just add one small thing there. So the personal, point from where the conversation started, Christians feed food, you give food also. So what's the difference? The difference is, I just wanted to clarify that we are not here for conversion, right? Whether somebody comes to the temple or not, that's not our criteria. When somebody asks Srila Prabhupada that you are trying to convert all these people into some kind of a different Krishna cult or something, Prabhupada said no. You just, remain Christian or whatever your faith is. I'm only here to make you a better Christian. So with his philosophy, it was very unifying regardless of anybody's faith. He said, you can stick to that. We will continue to do our service to humanity, and through that, we'll serve the Lord by, as he answered, instead of just offering ordinary food. But we are going to give you our philosophy. Right? Christianity may tell you, you come to the church and we'll teach you how to pray to the Lord that give me my daily bread. But we are going to tell you something beyond that, wherein you can establish your love with God also. So again, different faiths, different paths,
Yeah.
they have different motives, and each one of them, they're working on that. But the difference is we are not here to convert anyone. They can, be what they want to, they can do what they want to, but we'll consider this as our service, feeding them spiritually sanctified food, which is going to give them some spiritual inclination, and wherever they like, because living entity is independent, you cannot force anyone. Wherever they feel inclination, they can go and practice there. That's the mood with which we serve.
That's it.
That's the only addition I have.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's right. That's right.
End up.
I can stop the
Ah,
recording because it will. Is Sudha is still there?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, so you did the live, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts or questions before we end for the day?